If you want to learn how to replace Wishbone bushes at home using your preferred brands, and you're wondering whether this bush kit alone is enough to get the job done, especially when it's the only option on the market, then you're in the right place. With the Wishbone locked in the vise, I start by replacing the smaller bush, and common sense tells us it needs to be pushed out from this side. From this pull-through kit, select the threaded rod that fits snugly through the mounting hole. Take the new bush and measure the diameter. This is 38mm, so we need the 37mm press piece to push this out. Always go 1mm less. This kit doesn't have that and only has even sizes, the smallest being 46mm and the largest being 82mm. I therefore use a press kit that has the 37mm piece that I need to push this out. I then select additional smaller pieces and stack them to create enough clearance for the press. The receiving side requires a cup. Measuring the outer diameter of the bush, I find it to be just under 52mm. From the kit, I'm selecting the 62mm cup as the internal diameter is 52mm, giving exactly a 10mm difference between the two diameters. You can see the cup fits over the bush, allowing it to pass through cleanly and drop into the cup. With the cup in place, I select the end backing plate from the box and I place it over the cup. Then I insert the threaded rod. On the other side, I add the stack, followed by the other end backing plate, and I secure it in place with the bolt. With the ratchet and spanner in place, I begin winding. The stack first compresses the rubber before contacting the metal sleeve. With enough pressure, it breaks free and it starts to move. Using a press piece 1mm smaller than the sleeve is the correct way to do this. Any smaller and you risk it going wonky, pressing the rubber instead of the sleeve. This method is effective and it has successfully pulled out the bush, working on the same principle as a hydraulic press. Next, use abrasive to clean the bore. For installation, I avoid pressing on the rubber and instead I apply force to the outer sleeve. Measure the diameter of the rubber. This one is 48mm, therefore I select the 58mm cup. The reason for this is that the internal diameter of the cup is 48mm due to the 10mm difference between the outer and inner dimensions. This allows the cup to fit snugly around the bush so it can sit over it properly and it can be used to pull the bush into place. For the other side, because the bush sits flush with the end, choose a press cup that allows for the extra travel the centre section needs as it's pulled through. Apply some grease, then position the bush and cup. Place the end press on top and insert the threaded rod. On the other side, fit the other cup, then the second end press piece. Finally, wind on the nut and tighten it all together. With the ratchet and spanner in place, I begin winding. As the bush winds in, I notice the lip starting to fold. Once it reaches the end, I remove the setup and see it's not fully seated. I select a larger press piece and place it between the bush and the end plate and start winding. There really isn't another way here. Removing the setup, you can see it's now perfectly seated, sitting flush with the edge and no damage. To replace the main bush, find a pull-through bar that fits the hole snug. Measure the diameter. This comes to 80mm, so ideally you need to use a 79mm press piece to pull this out. The closest in this kit is 78mm, but that's likely to slip, so I'm going to push this lip in first to unseat it and then get it moving. I'll do that using the 82mm cup. Once unseated, I'll use a 78mm cup to push it out, as it should move more easily. For the receiving end, I need a cup larger than the 82mm this kit offers, so I switch to a cup from this wheel bearing kit as it's large enough to clear the bush. I then use the backing plate that matches it. So I position the 82mm cup, place the backing plate on, then insert the threaded rod. On the other side, I use a larger cup and matching plate from the wheel bearing kit, finishing with the original backing plate. The nut is then wound on, tightening everything into position. With the ratchet and spanner in position, I begin winding. It doesn't take long before it breaks free, and I'm able to push it flush with the bore. Now that it's freed up, I switch to the 78mm cup, set it up as before, and start winding again. This time it moves easily. That's because the hardest part is already done, unseating it. Instead of it binding under the metal sleeve and only pushing the rubber out, it's now driving the entire bush out as one with the sleeve. The cup pulls it out cleanly and it comes out straight. Use an abrasive to clean the bore. There are 2 arrows on this bush, pointing in opposite directions. This is part of the suspension geometry. Take note of this before removal and reinstall it the same way. Apply some grease to the bore and use a cup that can press on the outer diameter of the bush. I'm using the 82mm cup here. Place it in position, fit the pressed piece over it, then insert the threaded rod. On the other side, I use the same cup with a matching backing plate, then fit the other backing plate and wind on the nut, tightening everything together. With the ratchet and spanner in position, I begin winding. You can see that the bush starts to twist slightly as it takes load, but it naturally corrects itself and pulls back into alignment. This is normal as everything seats under pressure. As I approach the final position, I make sure to leave a few millimeters either side so it isn't driven fully flush with the bore. This bush is now fully installed. For this final bush, I measured the diameter at 42mm. From the press kit, I select the 41mm press piece, then add the stack behind it to ensure it pulls the bush fully through. I set everything up on the threaded bar and insert it as shown. On the other side, I use a suitable cup that clears the bush, then fit the backing plate and nut, winding everything into position. As I begin winding, the stack presses the rubber, but it struggles to break the sleeve free. Rather than force it and risk snapping the bar, I stop and apply some heat to the bore. On the second attempt, it still doesn't release. The bar begins to twist, but the bush isn't moving. I then try to release it by switching to a smaller stack, pushing through just on the rubber in hope it would take the sleeve with it. This did wind the rubber out, but the sleeve still remained seized. The smaller press pieces only fit this bar, so I need another plan. I resort to a ball joint kit. Taking the C-clamp, I wind the threaded rod in slightly. I then select a suitable receiving cup and matching backing plate and set it in position as shown. I put the clamp around the housing of the sleeve, then take the 41mm press piece and insert it between the rod and the sleeve. I then wind it down and tighten everything into place. With the ratchet in position and with one hand on the clamp, I begin winding. It doesn't take long before it unseats. That's because the rod is bigger and stronger. With this now successfully out, I use an abrasive to clean the bore and apply grease, preparing it for installation. Using the same technique, I select suitable cuts of both ends and set everything up as shown. As I begin winding, the bush starts to twist slightly again, but it quickly self-centers and is driven all the way in without any issues. This is now complete and ready. So was this kit enough on its own? No, it took 4 different kits to get the job done. But if you're thinking just use a press, you still need to use all these press pieces anyway because they don't come with a hydraulic press. These kits are designed to cover multiple drivetrain tasks and they all work together, so for a DIY setup it's well worth it if you want to install preferred brands yourself instead of relying on budget replacement assemblies. And that doesn't just apply to bushes, it also extends to the condition and quality of the arms themselves, which isn't always factory specification. If you found value in this video, subscribe and I'll deliver more content like this.